Hare नाम संकीर्तन याद की जय। Giri Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, all glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.
Well, maybe just Maharaj 1 minute.
Sure, please.
So, something about His Holiness Bhakti Rasayana Sagar Maharaj. One of the great inspiration personally for me. And Maharaj came to Krishna consciousness in 1988. So
89.
89. So it's been like 32 years. And from what I've heard from Maharaj, how he came to Krishna consciousness, he found a mantra on a trash somewhere, half mantra.
No, it was blasphemous article with half mantra quoted there.
Okay. So that's how Maharaj heard the mantra, and then he started chanting, and then he became very absorbed in just the half mantra. And then finally he got Bhagavad Gita, and then Maharaj was actually, many people when I introduce Maharaj, when Maharaj you're not there, when I introduce, they are like, oh, because Maharaj is originally from a Muslim background, how back in Russia, Maharaj, originally Russia. And when I say Maharaj is a sannyasi and he's from Muslim background, and they are shocked, oh, how is it possible? And Maharaj, what inspires me the most is his vision about future of ISKCON is revolutionary. And every time I hear from him, it again and again brings a spark in me that this is the direction. If we go, we can go widespread. Otherwise, we'll always stay small. I personally attended a college with Maharaj in 2018, and that was itself a revolutionary experience for me. And maybe Maharaj, you can say more about it at some point of time. So let us welcome His Holiness Bhakti Rasayana Sagar Maharaj by loudly chanting 3 times. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. So wonderful to be with all of you. And everyone lives in this area? All over?
Like, no wife farming to.
Okay. And how many of you are chanting 16 rounds? Please raise your hands. Wow, quite a few. Amazing, most of you. And how many of you are initiated? Please raise your hands. More than half. So, how many of you are practicing more than 10 years? Okay. More than 5 years? Okay. Nice. So, I'm your servant here. And I think it's only happening in the Hare Krishna world when you come to the house and you don't know who the owners are. Prabhuji, what's your name?
Samir.
Samir. And Mataji? Harshini. Okay, Samir and Harshini. Thank you. Thank you for organizing this program. And if anyone has any specific topic you would like to discuss for tonight, we'll be happy to do that. Please.
Chapter 16, verse 21. So,
Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, verse 21. Okay, so divine and demoniac natures. So about demoniac nature, okay? Sure, thank you. So chapter 16, text 21, and we'll read this verse after chanting mantras, glorifying Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas. Om Gyantimirandasya Giranjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutade Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vate Mahaprema Prabhu Vibhur Nirmaya Kshati Adamusha Purusha Bhungte Ganan Sada Sasadasmaka Vankrishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this is very interesting verse. Trividham narkasyedam dvaram nasanamatmanaha kamagradas tadalabhas tasmatita trayam tyajet. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give this up for the elite to the degradation of the soul. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to these pieces of demoniac life must try to give up these three enemies which can kill the self, to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. End of the purport. Would you like next verse as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah?
How to achieve that difficult goal, right?
Yeah. Actually, next verse is connected to that. 22. Etarve mukta kaunteya tamodvara stripirnara acharya tatmana shriyas tato yati param gatim. The man who has escaped these three gates of hell, O son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. Purport. One should be very careful of these three enemies to human life: lust, anger, and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature. By following the regular principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. In the Vedic literature, the ways of action and reaction are prescribed to enable one to come to the stage of purification. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed, and anger. By cultivating knowledge of this process, one can be elevated to the highest position of self-realization. This self-realization is perfected in devotional service. In that devotional service, the liberation of the conditioned soul is guaranteed. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, there are instituted the four orders of life and the four statuses of life called the caste system and the spiritual order system. There are different rules and regulations for different castes of divisions of society, and if a person is able to follow them, he will be automatically raised to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, very interesting topic. And so Srila Prabhupada stresses two things as remedies for overcoming lust, anger, and greed. And that is following Vedic scriptures, which is the conclusion of the entire chapter. Because later, literally in the next verse, it says, Yashastra viti mutija vartate kamakarata nasasiddhim avartoti na sukham na param gatim. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. So, Shastra is the authority, and therefore one can, basically speaking, lust means act whimsically without reference to Shastra, right? Shruti smriti puranati pancharatra vidhim vina kaya aikantiki hare bhakti utpadeva klapate. It is described in Padma Purana, I believe, that one who is ignoring Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Pancharatrika, all these Vedic scriptures, and basically speaking, goes against the principles of devotional service. And even though if someone poses to be engaged in devotional service, Aikantiki Harer Bhakti, but such devotional service without authority of scriptures will be disturbance to the human society. Upadeva Kalpate. So even if we perform devotional service, we have to be careful in following scriptures. Of course, we may not know all the scriptures, but this is why we have gurus and senior Vaishnavas who can tell us what is according to the scriptures and what is against scriptural injunctions. And then, so Prabhupada also emphasizes Varnashrama system. And before his departure, he was talking a lot about it. He was saying that because he could see that jumping on transcendental level from material conditioning is very difficult for most people, and that's why Varnashram is basically providing mode of goodness, which can be a springboard for one's advancement. And again, goodness means two things: knowledge and happiness, as Bhagavad Gita expresses. That we act according to the scriptures, and then that's knowledge, and then we please the Supreme Lord, and by that we become pleased. We become happy. Tushtim Krishna Jagat Tushtam. That if Krishna is satisfied, then we're also satisfied. And so, yes, mode of goodness is really important, and so it's based on knowledge again. So it's basically theoretical knowledge and its application in practice. Shastra is theoretical knowledge and Varnashram is application in real life. And even though it's not totally explicit, I mean, Prabhupada does not highlight the connection so much, but actually if we follow the logic of Bhagavad Gita, then we can understand that these are the three gateways to hell, these are the problems, but what is the solution? Because Prabhupada speaks in general terms, Shastra, but what does exactly Shastra prescribe for these three things? And then in the next chapter, 17, the divisions of faith, maybe we could zoom out a little bit and look at general structure of the last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which is also very interesting. Jnana Yoga it is, and if you remember, Bhagavad Gita is dealing with 5 major points, right? 5 topics: Ishvara, Jiva Prakriti, Kala, Karma. And so Ishvara, Jiva Prakriti are the main ones, and they are interconnected naturally. Ishvara is connected to both Jiva and Prakriti, but conditioned Jivas trying to influence Prakriti and then get the reactions. So Ishvara is influencing both of them through Kala, time, and they are interconnected through karma. So this is how the 5 topics are presented in Bhagavad Gita. And then actually the last 6 chapters are dealing with the 3 major topics, Ishvara, Jiva and Prakriti. And basically speaking, the 13th chapter, which is first one in that section, is Prakriti Purusha Viveka Yoga, which Srila Prabhupada translates as nature, enjoyer and consciousness. So indicating that the 3 major subject matters are described in the dynamic of the interaction in this chapter, because this chapter describes how conditioned jivas are trying to dominate Prakriti, trying to control and enjoy in this world. And then Ishvara, in a form of Paramatma, is observing all this, and he is acting as Upadrashta and Anumanta, as observer, witness, and one who gives sanction to, things to happen. And so, and then after this introductory 13th chapter, then next 3 chapters are dedicated to each of the 3 topics separately. Like chapter 14, which is the following one, is Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, indicating that it is dedicated to the description of the 3 modes of material nature. So Prakriti is very elaborately discussed. Then chapter 15, Purushottama Yoga, is dedicated to Ishvara. And then this chapter 16 is dedicated to Jiva, describing that there are 2 types of Jivas, divine and demoniac, and their characteristics. And then basically the problem with demons are these 3 things. They become conditioned by this lust, anger and greed. So that's materialistic demoniac life. But then, of course, the question what to do, that's is addressed in the following chapter 17, Shadatraya Vibhaga Yoga, that the 3 types of faith, divisions of faith. And basically speaking, within the language of Bhagavad Gita, faith is not a kind of belief, but it's operational mode people have. And then, faith in ignorance, passion, and goodness is described. And then it concludes that the best faith is transcendental. But then faith means 3 things. And these 3, if you look at it, they are actually 3 remedies for the 3 problems described in here. And what are the 3 remedies? Anyone remembers? They are described elaborately in chapter 17. and then also highlighted in the beginning of chapter 18. Anyone remembers? What are the 3 remedies?
Charity, austerity.
Yes. Yagya, dana, tapa. It says pavanani manishanam. That these 3 activities, they purify even great soul, great thinkers. So, if any of us happen to think that we're great devotees already, great thinkers, great philosophers, even then, Krishna says, even if you are great, you need to be purified. Because material nature is acting in such a way that no matter how pure you are, you will still get contaminated on regular basis, right? In the same way as no matter how clean you washed your body in the morning, how thoroughly, no matter how thoroughly you took the shower in the morning, still, throughout the day, some contamination will be there, and then there is a need to cleanse your body again, right? So, not to be contaminated in the material world, living in the material world is practically impossible. In Russia, where I'm coming from, they say, no matter how hard you try, if you stay in a barrel full of tar, you will, have to become dirty, right? So this material world is something like that, the barrel full of tar, and no matter how careful we are, still we will get contaminated. So that's why we need purificatory processes. And these are the 3 most powerful purificatory processes. And if you think about it, each of these is counteracting the 3 gateways to hell, right? The easy one is greed, right? How do you counteract greed? By which process? Charity, yeah. So because greed means I don't want to give to anyone, I want only to take, right? My operational mode is only to receive, but never to give. But then charity is prescribed in scriptures. And by doing charity, then by giving donations, that our greed is purified. And interesting that in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni speaks a little bit more elaborately about these 3, lust, anger, and greed, and he says, of these 3, the worst one is greed. Why? Because if someone is angry and then he shouts and screams, and then the anger kind of goes down, and if someone is lusty, then, getting the satisfaction for the senses, at least temporarily, lust is pacified, right? But then he says greed is such an interesting fault that the more you try to satisfy the greed, the more it grows. So greed is never satisfied. You cannot push the pause button on greed. There is one Russian joke that a man comes to the doctor and he says, "Doctor, can you please give me some pills against greed, but as much as possible?" Like that. So. And this is how we become free from greed, the worst of the 3 problems. And then anger. How do we control anger? Tapa, right? And tapa it's also very important to understand what is austerity from, the description of Bhagavad Gita. That's why Bhagavad Gita is so important, because when we think of austerity, we think of Hiranyakashipu type of austerities, right? Standing on the tip of the toes and not eating, not drinking, not sleeping, etc. But ugra tapas, horrible austerity. Bhagavad Gita says the austerities which torture the elements of the material body and disturb the Paramatma within are the austerities demons perform, right? So if we want to perform austerities, actually, if you perform this kind of austerities, then actually anger only becomes worse. Like Hiranyakashipu, he was always angry, right? So, but the austerities which are recommended for us are the austerities in the mode of goodness, and they are described in texts 14, 15 and 16 of the next chapter, 17, right? Austerities for the body, austerities for the speech, and austerities for the mind, right? So these are the ones which can help us to control anger, right? Just an example, austerity of the speech. Anudvega karam bhakyam satyam priyam hitam chayat swadhyabhyasanam chaiva vanmaya tapa uchate, right? So anudvega karam bhakyam, that first rule for the speech is that it should not be disturbing anyone's mind. Whatever we say, our words should not be disturbing people, right? But they should be satyam, should be truthful, but not disturbing. That's very difficult, right? And priyam, pleasing. And hitam, beneficial. How do you figure it out? Because if I will say the truth, it will not be pleasing. But if I will say something pleasing, it will not be truth, right? But then, we learn from scriptures again, because scriptures, Shastra is so perfect, it gives instruction, but it also gives examples how it is applied. Right here in Bhagavad Gita, the beginning, Krishna, perfectly follows his own instructions and, follows the principles of Vanmaya Tapa, right? That perfect austerity of speech. Because Arjuna supposed to fight on behalf of Krishna and kill all the demons, but then he wants to resign from fighting. And Krishna made so much effort to gather all these demons in one place, and Arjuna is supposed to kill them all. But now Arjuna wants to run away from the battle. So Krishna is very, disappointed with such a weakness of Arjuna. And then what Arjuna is doing in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he is explaining Krishna, who is the author of the Vedas, right? The importance of, the meaning of the Vedas. He is explaining to Krishna the meaning of the Vedas, right? Explains to the author what he meant. And that Krishna does not understand the Vedas, but Arjuna understands. And so you can see that Krishna was doubly disappointed, right? First of all, with Arjuna's weakness, and second of all, that Arjuna is preaching to Krishna why he is right and why Krishna is wrong. And then it's very interesting what Krishna says. Ashochanan vashochastvam pragyavadam bhashase gatasum chanti pandita. And basically he says, while speaking the learned words, you are mourning of something which is not worthy of grief, because the wise, they never lament for neither living nor dead. Okay? But then, when we read Prabhupada's purport, we discover that this was the way Krishna called Arjuna fool. Would you be able to figure it out? Such a cultural speech, It says that a diplomat, is so expert with his speech that he can send you to hell in such a nice way that you'll be looking forward to the journey. Right? So like that, cultured speech. You say the truth, but you say it in such a way that person is not disturbed, but then gets the benefit, right? So it is difficult. That's why it's austerity, right? For that, we have to control the mind also. And then Krishna, of course, speaks about the austerity of the mind. So these 3 verses are very important for us. How to properly perform austerities in order to become free from anger. And then, of course, lust. What does the lust mean in principle? We understand that there is gross, subtle lust, all these things, but what is the principle of lust? And the hint is, Krishna Das Kaviraj explains in Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is lust and what is love of God, and what's the difference?
Pleasing our senses.
Yes, lust means for me, pleasing myself, and what is love of God? Pleasing Krishna. So basically speaking, lust means acting for my own sense gratification, right? This is the definition of lust. But then, pleasing Krishna, and that should be an easy question, that what is the main activity, the first and foremost activity by which the Supreme Lord is pleased?
Chanting his
By
name.
taking his name.
We do that, but this is a manifestation of that principle, overall principle which should be followed to please the Supreme Lord. What do we call this? And this is what Bhagavad Gita starts with. If you forgot about it, we were discussing 3 countermeasures to avoid, to kind of, counteract 3 gateways of hell. So we've discussed dana, charity, we've discussed tapa, austerity. What is the 3rd one? Yagya, correct. So yagya is the principle, right? So if we want to please the Supreme Lord, we have to do yagya. And yagya is exactly what we've discussed. Yagya means acting for the Lord's pleasure, giving up our selfish desires and do what the Lord wants, right? Instead of doing what I want, doing what the Lord wants. And of course, chanting is the most effective yagya for our age. It's like one man was asking Srila Prabhupada, it's like chanting the holy name. Basically, it's just 3 words in different combinations, and we do it again, and again. And why do we have to do that? So Srila Prabhupada tried to explain to him, he couldn't understand. Still he was telling, it doesn't make sense to do this chant mantra. Why do we have to do it? So Srila Prabhupada tried to explain to him again. Again he couldn't understand. And then Prabhupada kind of tired of explaining to him, and he said, You have to chant because God wants you to chant. Simple. Even if you don't understand, it doesn't matter. God wants you to do that, and do it like that. So it's yagya, right? Chanting of Hare Krishna mantra specifically. But it's the principle. This yagya was taking different forms in different ages, but now this is the most practical form. Chanting Hare Krishna is the yagya. So, and yeah, this is how it works. This is the general kind of explanation, we can say. So let's see if anyone wants to. I suppose Samir Prabhu was asking for this topic, with specific idea in mind. We can check whether it was satisfactory. Okay, Mataji.
I have one question about, we talked about what we discussed yesterday. We discussed about greed. In order to overcome greed, we could do donation. Now, greed could be of different types. Greed could be for more money, bigger house, more materialistic things. It could be also for gaining more respect.
For
Gaining more respect.
gaining respect, yeah.
Bigger position, or having more love from the loved ones around you. It could be something which you cannot buy with money, basically. Can that kind of greed be also? Can we get rid of it, basically, by performing donations in form of materialistic things?
Well, according to what Radhanath Maharaj says, your wealth, your true wealth can be calculated by the number of things money cannot buy. So if you have love, if you have friendship, if you have, happiness, etc., the things which money cannot buy, right? It's good. And yeah, I personally cannot see any problem with having more love, more happiness, more, blessings, etc. As long as we use it for Krishna, of course. And big house, I see no problem with big house, because, big house means you can have bigger home programs. So you can do more for serving Krishna, Guru and Vaishnavas. Like one devotee doing business, and then he purchased himself very expensive car. And other devotees are asking, why do you need such an expensive car? He said, I want to, drive my spiritual master every time he comes. And he does. So yeah, there is no harm in having big house and expensive car, because we can use all these things in Krishna service. I lived in London for quite a while, and there is one very nice devotee, but he happened to be multi-billionaire, and Anil Agarwal, Aniruddha Prabhu. And so, he has luxurious house in the best area, Mayfair in London, next to Green Park, and like stairs bedecked with gold, and servants there, and huge kitchen. Probably the kitchen is as big as this whole house, and he purchased that place from Rothschild's family, and of course he has a park of cars, like few cars he has, basically. He doesn't even go as low as to buy Mercedes or something. He's only using Bentleys. I think he has 2 Bentleys, 1 Rolls Royce, and of course, driver for each car, etc. Because he has pretty serious status in the society. But he regularly invites devotees to his place, and then like I would feel embarrassed. He would ask me to give a class, sit on a chair, and he sits on the floor. And there is no way you cannot like make him sit on a chair. He says, no, I'm happy here to sit on the floor. And he comes to the temple, he's dancing with the devotees, he's like very simple person. And one day he came for the morning program, and I had a question. We were talking about something, and I kind of walked with him down the stairs. And normally he would have his car, and his driver is waiting for him. But then I didn't see the car, so he just started walking away. I said, where is your car? He said, oh, it's too early for the driver, so I didn't want to wake him up. My house is 2, stops away with underground train, they call it tube in London, so I'll just 2 stops on the tube and I'm at home, so I just purchased travel card, not a big deal. Multi-billionaire, sitting on the floor and going on public transport, no problem. But for Ratha Yatra, he, brings all his cars for Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and big, and like each of them have their own. Normally, like devotees put them in one car, right? But here he wants them to drive in style, so each deity has separate car. You can see that they're very happy, so using whatever he has for Krishna, but not considering himself to be the enjoyer of that. So that's a devotee. And I discovered that in Krishna consciousness, it's like devotees are so humble. Sometimes you never know whom you're talking with in Krishna consciousness, because devotee can have like sky-high social position, but behaves himself in such a way that you will never figure it out. Like Shyamanand Krishna Brahmanov's Padmalochan Krishna Brahma from Singapore, one of our teachers. And the way how I found out about him, I would come regularly to Singapore where he lives. And one time, the temple president told me that one devotee wants to host you in his house. And I don't know how many of you have been to Singapore. A regular apartment would cost something close to $1 million. But if we speak about house, that's few $1 million. So, like just by the fact if someone has a house already indicates that this person is multimillionaire. So, when this devotee told me you'll be staying in somebody's house, I was like, wow, I'll be staying in multi-millionaire's place. And then Padmalochan Krishna Prabhu came and he received me and brought me to his house, nice house, I think 5 or 6 story house. And his wife cooked prasadam. He was personally serving me while I was taking prasadam. He would read something from Prabhupada's books. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, who is this man? And then I kind of, was asking him, like, what are you doing? And he would say, who are you? He would say, I'm nothing special. I'm just a simple devotee. And I'm like, come on. You have to do something, serious to have such facilities. Then finally, after long time I've discovered he's original director for Harvard Business School in Southeast Asia. 14 countries organizing courses, Harvard business courses in the region. So, like that, there is no harm in having facilities as long as these facilities are used for Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas. All right. Anyone else? Everything is clear. Otherwise, okay. If you wish to share any reflections, any realizations, you're also welcome. Please.
I have a question.
Shyam Kishore.
I have a question.
Okay. Please take microphone.
So, can you please enlighten on how whole life, every moment can be a yajna? So how that can be so ingrained in the mind and the heart that the mind will not think of anything except pleasure of Krishna?
Well, it takes time because Prabhupada says that the process of Krishna consciousness is a slow process, and then it's like with Maha Mantra, and actually this is what my spiritual master says, that the way we chant is the way we live our lives. So the more we are thinking of Krishna while chanting mantra, that means the more we'll be focused on Krishna in our day, throughout the day. And this is where it starts. Attentive chanting. This is the first step, attentive chanting, and then thinking of Krishna, and then having feelings for our relationship with Krishna, and very strong desire to please Krishna. So this is how it goes, because the mind becomes purified, and three functions of the mind are thinking, feeling, and willing. So when these functions are directed at Krishna fully, then our mind becomes purified through the chanting. And mind is very important element of our subtle body. All right.
I can ask, what can be our different meditations during chanting, and
What kind of meditation?
we can have during chanting, and how can we deepen it? I have personally experienced at many instances your absorption in holy name, and I am always inspired by that. How to attain that absorption level in the holy names?
Well, I'm still working on it, of course, but there are certain things we can do to help us to be focused, because focused chanting is the first step. And Sachinandan Maharaj recommends the rule of 3P: posture, pronunciation, and prayer. So first one is to have proper posture, straight spine, hand on the level of the chest. That helps, actually. Traditional posture of Haridas Thakur. And some devotees feel that also left hand on the same level. That's even more helpful. It's like if you fold your palms like that, it automatically helps the mind to be focused, right? So if we hold both hands on the chest level, okay, increases the concentration. And of course pronunciation, without missing any words or syllables, 16 words, 32 syllables, and prayerful mood. Sankalpa, that's really important. Sankalpa means our what do you call it?
Determination.
Not exactly determination, but our goal, what we want to achieve, right? So yeah, I mean the question, the most powerful question is why? Why am I doing that? Why am I, instead of sleeping, why am I chanting Mahamantra, right? So, and then if we have motivating answers for ourselves, that helps also. And if we understand why are we chanting, then in order to achieve that goal, we can pray to Krishna for that. And there are a number of very powerful prayers we can use, we can meditate on while chanting mantra. One prayer which Radhanath Maharaj used as a motto for his journey home is from Queen Kunti. Tvai menanya vishaya matir matupate sakrit Rachim udvahat adhat Ganga udhat udambati. O Lord of Madhu, Krishna, in the same way as Ganges always flows towards the sea without, any impediments, even though there are impediments, but Ganga still flows towards the sea and reaches the sea. So let my attraction only be on you without getting distracted by others. Like that. So very powerful prayer. It's very fashionable principle which is promoted in professional world for the personal development. Be in a flow, right? You probably heard that. Always be in a flow. People talk about financial flow, flow of energy, all kinds of flows, right? If we are in the flow, then, we are succeeding in life. And so, yeah, if we are in the flow of chanting in the same way as Ganga, right, is always flowing, then, yeah, that's a good japa. To be always focused like that. There are a number of prayers we can use for our personal meditation while chanting japa. There are so many techniques. Japataka Maharaj recommends combining japa with pranayama, which means you breathe in and while breathing out you chant as many mantras as you can, and you count how many mantras you manage in one breath, and then try to do more next time. So compete with yourself. Okay, I've done 5 mantras in one breath, can I do 6? Now I've done 6, can I do 7? And so while counting the mantras, you cannot think of anything else. So you're not distracted by other thoughts. Jayapadaka Maharaj does 20 in one go. but he practiced for many years, of course. Yes.
Maharaj, I have a question. Maharaj, how do we
that we are following. The places where we come from, Maharaj, parents don't want to chant. If we request them to chant, it's a little difficult to talk to them. So how to make their parents become devotees, Maharaj?
How did I make my parents into devotees? Interesting question, yeah. Naturally, you kind of feel inspired. In the beginning, you want everyone to take up to Krishna consciousness, but parents, they are the least receptive, right? Because they know us too well to believe in our saintliness. We cannot fake it. We can fake in front of others, but not in front of our parents. Like that. And so I didn't even know what to do, but one thing is that my father was really stubborn, and he would always have his own way, and he would never ever take anyone's advice or anyone's opinion. If someone would say something, he would say completely opposite thing. Like that. And we were always arguing. He would never accept anything I would say. So after I started practicing Krishna consciousness, I knew for a fact he will never accept. And I was actually a little tired of always arguing with him. And I was thinking, if I become a devotee, then, I won't be associating with him so much. So let him live his own life, I'll live my own life, like that. I actually didn't want him to become a devotee. So when he was telling me, oh, this is your kind of, you are, kind of attracted by this thing, but it's very temporary. I'm sure it's just another phase in your life which will come and go. You tried so many other things in life and you moved on, so you'll move on from this one as well. And I was not arguing with him because it was useless, but I was thinking, okay, let's see. But then he would, after a while he would see that no, he's not moving on, but he goes deeper into it and he starts changing his lifestyle. And that kind of made him interested, why am I taking it so seriously? Because, following principles, well, I was vegetarian, but that was about it. I didn't follow anything else. But then I started following, and then he would try to ask, different philosophical questions, try to figure out what is that Krishna consciousness, who is Krishna and what is the philosophy. And I knew if I'll try to tell him something, he will start arguing with me, and I didn't want to argue with him. So I would tell him, well, first, actually, I would tell him that, you would not be able to understand. And then, of course, he became even more determined to figure out what it is. And then I said, even I don't understand it all so well, so I don't think I can explain to you, but I'll give you a book. And I told him, you have perfect questions, and I have the book which is entitled Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, so just take this book, read it, you will figure it out for yourself. I left him with a book, and I went out on Prabhupada's marathon, traveling Sankirtan. Then I came back after a while, and he saw me, but he didn't ask questions anymore, but he was just looking at me. And I was also curious. I said, so, did you read the book? He said, yes, I did. And I said, how was it? He said, nothing special. Very basic knowledge. I could write much better book. To give you an idea what kind of person he was, right? I was thinking, no, he's too much, like. And I told him, I couldn't tolerate that. I said, the author of these books is world-renowned spiritual leader. So if you could write better book than him, why aren't you as famous as him, at least? That kind of made him a little bit, puzzled. He didn't have the answer to this question. And then I said, actually, you perceived it as something simple, but it's very deep and very sublime. He said, what is so deep and so sublime about it? It's very basic. I said, no, in order to understand the depth of the knowledge in these books, you have to have access code. He said, what is the access code? I said, there is a mantra, and if you chant that mantra, the knowledge opens up for you. And he said, what is the mantra? I said, Hare Krishna mantra. So I told him, try and see, how your perception will change after you start chanting this mantra. So I actually gave him beads and mantra, and again left for traveling Sankirtan. And I came back, even before I came back home, devotees started telling me, what happened to your father? Now he's chanting 16 rounds, and he comes to the programs, and he is harassing all the devotees by his philosophical questions. And anyone who is trying to explain him anything, he's arguing with them. And we don't know what to do. I said, yes, this is why I didn't want to talk to him about the philosophy. And I said, okay, now you evaded it, now we are in trouble. You put us in trouble. Like that. But anyway, it worked. After a while, he got better, and actually he did nice services, because, he's pretty determined in terms of achieving things. So we wanted to construct a temple, and I knew that he will be the one who will see it through to the completion, which he did. And in very difficult circumstances, constructed the temple. And that was, he already passed away. He got first, second initiation from Indradyumna Maharaj and left his body a few years ago. We put his ashes in Ganges in Mayapur. My mother is still alive, and with her it was a different story because normally mothers would be very attached to sons, right? And I'm the only one. And she would do anything just not to lose me. So after I started practicing Krishna consciousness, she wanted to, I would tell her that if you want to cook for me, it has to be pure vegetarian. She said, fine, no problem. I said, but this is not enough. It has to be offered to Krishna. She said, I'll cook, you do whatever you want with it. You can offer it to anyone. I said, yes, but the one who is cooking is supposed to be offering. She said, okay, I'll offer it to Krishna, so how do you do it? what's the ritual. But I said the ritual is not enough because one who is cooking is supposed to be a devotee. So if you want to cook, you have to follow four principles and chant 16 rounds a day. So this is how she became a devotee. So, and now she's like over 80, and she kept like, asking me, let me do some service, just give me some instruction, I can follow. I was thinking, like at such an age, what can I tell her? So I just told her, chant more rounds. She said, how many should I chant? I said, at least 64. Now she's chanting like between 70 and 80 rounds a day for already like a couple of years or something. So yeah, but I feel that what Nrsimhadev explains to Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto is very true, because the more serious we are in Krishna consciousness, then it naturally influences our relatives. Sometimes it's funny because, relatives might not be even believing in God, even though they might be claiming to be Christians or Muslims. But Kali Yuga means, one may claim to be anything but not do anything. Not practice. Non-practicing, Christians, non-practicing Muslims. I hope it won't be like that for Vaishnavas. That would be horrible. Non-practicing Vaishnavas. But if, for example, relatives are completely materialistic, and then some family member starts practicing Krishna consciousness, then suddenly, and it's very interesting, they remember that we're supposed to be Christians or we're supposed to be Muslims, right? And then the devotee family member says, okay, if you're supposed to be Christians or Muslims, do it. Why do you want to start with me? Start with yourself. And then they take it up and they start practicing. Their motivation is to show their family member that their tradition is kind of better, but actually it's Krishna from within their hearts encouraging them to start spiritual practices. And many times from there they become devotees also. So like that, basically our own spiritual practices, that's the most powerful factor in that sense. All right, Hare Krishna. So, I think it's all clear. It's either all clear or nothing is clear. But Krishna will clarify it in time. So
just a reflection, like how you connected lust, anger, greed with tapa.
Microphone.
Like how you connected lust, anger, greed with austerity, charity, and sacrifice. So that was something very inspiring. And read both, but how you connected was opened or something.
Well, we should thank Samir Prabhu for offering the topic. Very kind of, creative topic. Good question, yeah. Alright, so few more minutes of kirtan.
Yes.
And then we'll have special surprise for all of you. How many of you like special surprises? Okay. Hare Krishna, now,
Surprise.
special surprise. Okay, I'll tell you what it is. Srila Prabhupada explains that personal items used by the Lord or his pure devotee are not different from them, and you can get the same effect as you would have from personal association. And so I got from one of Srila Prabhupada's senior disciples, Srila Prabhupada's personal kurta. So it's the same, like having Prabhupada's personal darshan. And maybe we can sing the prayers, Shyamananda Krishna Guru. And meanwhile, everyone can come, get Srila Prabhupada's blessings, pray to him for whatever you want. And you want.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Jayo Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jaya